In this video, I will be talking about the provided switches in generic interaction component. The reusable switches provided are basically a button with two states. It's a button that has an on or off and changes what it sends out based on that on or off. If I flip the switch to off, it acts like a button in the sense that once it gets to that off state and that animation is done playing, it sends a value to this emitter. If I turn it on, just like a button does, it sends a different mode to this emitter, telling it to turn on. If we take a look at the switch properties here, you'll see that it's slightly more complicated than a button, but mostly things are just doubled. You have an interaction type for it to send when the switch is pulled, just like a button. You also have what to send when the switch is turned on or when the switch is turned off, both simple and increment values. And then you have text to show when the switch is on or off. And you also have a concept of receivers and inverted receivers. This list of inverted receivers comes in handy when you want a switch to control two things, but you want one thing to have the opposite effect as the other. Meaning, when the switch is pulled on, you want to send an off signal to something and an on signal to something else, but when the switch is turned off, you want to flip those signals for those two things. So an inverted receiver simply receives the off state when the switch is turned on and vice versa. Now the switch can also start on or off. Rather simple. Switches also have, by default, the ability to send their current state to the receivables as soon as the level starts. Meaning, if I have this on start off and I hit play, this switch is going to tell this actor, hey, I'm off as soon as the level loads. And this way, this emitter, this actor emitter, will just not be on, and when I flip the switch on, it will turn on. However, if I have the switch start on, when I hit play, the emitter actor will receive that on state message immediately, and it will just stay on, as opposed to turning off, like so. If you don't want the switch to send this begin play message, there's an option down here called send interact on begin play. You can just simply turn that off. And there you have it. Now if I turn this off and I hit play, the emitter will stay on even though the switch is off. However, this kind of leads into this weird state desynchronization, because now when the switch turns on, it's already on and it can't be on again. But once I turn it off, it turns off. And this turns back on. So again, a switch is basically a button with a state. And there are many switches provided. We have some of the classic switches, the Frankenstein old school switch, a more modern switch of that sort. We have light switches, just a tiny little switch that just turns on or off really easily. And yeah, more switches. We have this handle switch here, good for placing on a wall or something like that. And all these switches work the same way. They have the same properties. And just like the buttons, you can change the color of all your switches if you need a switch of a different color, or you can just generate random colors that you need. And there you have it, switches. Now you can combine switches to create various puzzles, such as this door puzzle, where these switches have opposing effects on different doors and you need to find the right combination of switches to open all three doors. You can also make a ridiculous calculator where each switch represents a binary bit and a number and add them together. Not that you would in your game, but anything is possible with switches. So switches, like buttons, but with state.